just write something in the comment section, and then we will start. Anyways, today we are going to discuss a few quite interesting things that will be very useful for your practice, because everything that we research at Project Elijah, it's about our real practice, and everybody needs this knowledge. I still don't see any signs, because maybe there aren't too many of you, but I know that mostly people will watch it later. So I welcome everybody. Delphine, thank you for letting me know that you're here. What's the news? Thank you, Delphine. What's about our news today? We are going to talk about two research works, and we are going to talk about one application for our practice, mobile application. And then I'm going to answer to all your questions. So be ready to ask them a little bit later. I won't be able to check all the questions, but I'll try to do my best to search for them. First of all, I'm going to thank you, Delphine and Fabrice, that is coming. Thank you for your support, for your work, for your dedication to translation of my primary book, the guidebook, into French. I still can't believe that we are going to do this finally, because it's been 1 year as it's coming, and I still don't see this. But finally, it seems that maybe in a couple of weeks, people in France will be able to read this guidebook. Without your help, it would be almost impossible to do this. So thank you again. At the same time, there's another man, is Sadegji. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He translates the guidebook into Persian language. It's not Arabic. It's Persian language, and he does it all by himself, alone, and he almost has finished it. So we are going to present this book maybe in a couple of weeks too. So if Sadegji, if you hear me, it's my personal thank you for your amazing work to do it all by yourself. It actually takes around 6 months to do it by one man. At the same time, we are going to translate it into Arabic very soon, and there's a person who's ready for this work, and I just need a few more time, a little bit more time to check his ability to do this. And if everything is all right, maybe in a couple of months we'll see this book in Arabic language. So guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for asking me questions, and let's start. So what's the news? First of all, let's talk a bit about our project. Project Elijah. It works fine. We still don't have enough of funds, and I finance it by myself. Approximately 2/3 I have to pay from my own resources, but we work almost perfectly. But still we cannot get enough of data from the English division of the project. So everybody who are able to induce lucid dreaming or lucid dreams or out-of-body experience at least once per month, I welcome you to participate at our project. It's not only about research work. First of all, it's a very good motivation for your practice because you get clear tasks that you need to complete during your experiences. And the second reason for you, you won't waste your experience, your amazing ability in your experiences for nothing. Because let us be honest, most of you just waste your phases. By phase, unite lucid dreams and out-of-body experience and astral projection and false awakenings and so on. So most of your experiences are just wasted for nothing. When you participate in our projects, actually, when you report your results, it will live forever in some research works. So it will be useful even for your future practice and for others' practice too. So everything is all right with our project, but it still needs more fun. So I welcome you to support us because we need your help, and I ask you to participate in this project by participating in some tasks in reporting them. They are related to many aspects of this practice, and most of they are very interesting. This month, actually, we have accomplished yet another experiment, Project Elijah. It is referred to deepening. Before I talk about this, I'm going to share all the topics from this stream. First of all, we are going to discuss this new research. Then we are going to discuss another research. Almost 1,400 practitioners from Russia participated in an online survey, and we got very interesting data from this, and I will show it to you. Actually, I will show how we calculate, how we analyze it. You will see the program, how it works, all the data. So, and you will understand the sense of it, why we needed this survey. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about a new application, mobile application that maybe will be extremely useful for every practitioner. So let's start from the deepening technique. Maybe, as you know, at Project Elijah, we test everything related to phase practice. And one of the first missions of this project is to check effectiveness of all possible deepening techniques. What are deepening techniques? It is action for obtaining more vivid sensations while being in phase. So sometimes, as you know, you experience lucid dream or an out-of-body experience, but you cannot see clearly. Your sensations are quite dim, and you have to perform some actions to make them more vivid and more sharp. By this moment, at Project Elijah, we have tested four deepening techniques. There are approximately 15 more. It will take 1 or 2 years to check them all. But the latest one, it is deepening by making exercises. So when you become conscious while dreaming or after separating from the body, you try to exercise. You make push-ups, jumps, so everything like this, as if you are going to exercise, as if you are warming up before exercising. In theory, you have to do it just a few seconds, maybe 5-10 seconds, to experience more vivid sensations. And you know what? After testing 4 different deepening techniques, by this moment, this particular action is the best one. 57% of all participants, of all practitioners, get more sensations, more vivid sensations by using this technique. For example, if they try to rotate, it's Stephen Labier's technique for deepening. It is approximately 40-45% of efficiency. In this case, it is 57% of efficiency. So if 100 practitioners try this, 57 of them get success with this technique. Actually, we received approximately 120 reports from 120 people, 1 report per person. So these figures are quite clear. We see that it works. Moreover, in every 4th of those successful attempts, it leads to hyper vivid sensations in face. So by this moment, it is the most effective deepening technique, but don't forget that we are going to perform at least 10-15 more experiments like this, and maybe in 1 or 2 years we will see which of the deepening technique is the best one. So I dream about this table with all the techniques and with all efficiency from them. It will help us to be more successful, to get more phases, to achieve more tasks in phases, to explore this topic better, to practice in personal goals it's better, to research this topic better. So it's a long journey to know everything about this, but as you see, it works. Let's talk about another study from this month. It's not just our studies. If you don't know, we create scientific, academic, scholar papers for each study. And when I was talking about this deepening technique, it's not just only figures. Actually, we created a scholar article related to this. It will be finished maybe in 1 month, but it is ready, almost ready. It needs some more information, some more work on it, and then we will send it to international scientific journals. Just a minute to talk about things like this. By this moment, we have accomplished approximately 17-16 papers, scholar papers, but the last 6 or 7 of them, we even have not tried to publish yet. During the next month, we are going to create another two papers. Then, only then, in July, I'm going to spend more time to fix them all and to upload to journals, because it requires so much effort and so much time to create these articles. And don't forget that we have to proofread it by specialists who correct papers for scientific papers, and it requires money, time, and we're going to do this by 10 articles, approximately each 4 or 5 months. So by this moment, 10 of our articles are being reviewed in different journals. One of them has been approved by publication. Others just are reviewed still. It's a very long story, and I think that we are going to be really published maybe in 5-6 months, but then it is going to be almost on every month. So we just have to wait for this. So the second study of this month, it was related to a very important issue. It was related to stability of our practice. During last maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, I was thinking about an idea that if you behave during phases a little bit unnatural, your brain may stop letting you into the phase state. For example, if you wake up every time after your experience, maybe your brain, some psychological, psychophysiological process in your brain may think that it's not a very good thing for it, and maybe your brain will block you to enter into the phase. Maybe it is the reason why sometimes everything works so well and then it just doesn't work for you perform absolutely the same actions as before. So I was thinking how to check it, and as the first step, I decided to make a pilot study. A pilot study is a study that does not require a lot of efforts before more serious studies. It's just for checking hypotheses. So 2 weeks ago, on my Russian websites, we posted a survey with 18 questions. It was called which month of your birth is more successful for phase practice. So what month is better to be born for phase practice? Actually, it was just a trick, as you understand. For me, there's no reason when you were when's your birthday, but we needed to attract practitioners because it's interesting to know which month is better. And second, we have to distract their attention from the primary goal. So I added this question related to months, but actually we were searching for absolutely different goals. And there were a lot of questions related to actual practice, for its stability, your behavior, what you do in the phase, and so on. And sometimes people ask me how often my expectations do not work. And it is exactly this story. So indeed, emotions in your behavior in phase relates to its stability, efficiency of your practice. But it's 100% opposite than I was expected. Actually, it was exactly the same as you can read in my guidebook. So my guidebook is correct, but I thought maybe I was wrong while working on this guidebook. If you still don't read this, please download it. It will help you. It's free. It will help you to make your practice better. So my new hypothesis was totally destroyed because actually it is 100% opposite. It appears that more consciousness you get in phase, more vivid sensations you experience there, more emotions you experience there, the more stable you practice, the more efficient you practice, the more you get experiences in your life. So I was really amazed, and in a few minutes I'm going to show you all the figures, and I'm just going to say that that is why it is important to make studies, different studies with practitioners, because sometimes you may think that everything is perfect in your hypothesis, for example. So you see it very, very clearly and you are 100% sure, confident. But when you check it by some actual studies, you see that you may be totally wrong. And this is the case. Before I share this, guys, thank you for being here. Johnny, in others, don't see all the names, but Andreas, Jean, Flint, Ozin, I see your comments, so it's how I can see your names, but actually I know that there are a little bit more people. Leo. So let's look at the figures. I'm going to share my screen, just a second. This is the article. I'm going to scroll it all. It is just a draft, so all the red text, it's needed to be created still. And I'm going to do it just maybe next month or later. But in this table, there will be real figures, but for now you can just see all the correlations. So what do you see here? First of all, it was 1,400, almost 400 people, so for almost 1,400 people who participated in this survey, and look what we've got here. So this is vividness. It's about your perceptions. Emotions, it's about your emotions in phase. In consciousness, it's about how conscious you are in phase. First of all, I found some correlations related to gender. It appears that for women, there are much more vividness, perception vividness in the phase state, more emotions and more consciousness. It's not just figures. You should understand that during statistical analysis, there are some factors that help us to see whether it is just coincidence or a real correlation. In a few minutes, I will show you the program, and you will see what we use to see real correlations. So if I put here correlations, it means that it was proven by Pearson or Spearman coefficient. So it's not just my idea. So just wait a little bit later. I will show you everything related to this. So there were some correlations to genders. Were a little bit correlations to age. It appears that for people around 40 years old, there are much more, a little bit more, but statistically significant more vividness and consciousness. And you know what? For people uh, uh, less than 20 years old, for teenagers. It is much less vividness in consciousness in phase practice. It all will be put in this article, but just my thoughts for you. There were no correlations before with fallen asleep time, no correlations with sleep duration time, and now the most important things here. You see now PA's amount. It is how many phases a person has experienced in his life. For example, it could be 10, 50, 100, 500, and more. And there was a positive correlation between how many phases you get and vividness. So more phases a person achieved in his life, more vivid sensations he experiences. The same goes for emotions. The same goes for consciousness. So it was apparent, it was statistically significant that more experience you get, more vividness, more emotions, and more vivid consciousness you experience. There were some correlations related to method too. For example, if you practice phase by direct methods, you experience more vividness, more emotions, and more consciousness. And then the most important discoveries. It is the key lines for this study. Just a second. So, PS day per week. It relates to how many days you are successful with phase if you try on everyday basis. And we see a positive correlation to vividness. So, for example, the more a person successful during a week, the more vividness he experiences. The same goes for emotions and consciousness. The second line here, it is PS attempt percent. It's not about days per week, but it's about success, the amount of, it's about percentage of your successful attempts. The more percentage, the more vividness, the more emotions, the more consciousness. The same goes for efficiency stability. It's about how stable the efficiency of your practice. For example, for somebody it's low efficiency. For somebody it stays high all the time, and we see direct positive correlation to vividness, emotions, and consciousness. So it all means that these factors are very correlated to each other. Just a second. So my initial hypothesis was totally destroyed. It appears that more vivid you are being in phase, more clear conscious you possess, the more emotions you experience, the more stable your practice, the more efficient your practice. It is 100 opposite of my expectations. It is amazing. And you know, once again, look at this. Look at this. It is very, very stable. It's not just, it's okay for vividness, but there's no correlation for emotions. It is positive correlation for each of them. So 3 by 3, and everywhere you see positive correlation, not negative correlation or non-correlation, but positive correlation. And once again, it was proven by Pearson or Spearman coefficient. So it is quite clear that it's not just a coincidence. It's real thing that we have to discover. There's a problem. Now we can see that there is a direct correlation, a positive correlation between experience and your emotions and consciousness in the phase state. But we don't know the direction of this correlation. For example, it could be that people who have more inborn abilities to practice the phase state, maybe for them there are much more vividness, emotions, and consciousness. But for people who cannot enter the phase state easily, they at the same time cannot experience a lot of emotions, vividness, and consciousness. So it is just one side of the story, but there could be another side of the story. For example, what if people who achieve more vividness and more consciousness being in the phase state, what if they get more stable practice? So this study, this survey doesn't let us know this direction. It could be either way. So it means that we need more studies in the future to understand these points. But it is very important for this moment to understand that higher cognitive functions while being in the phase state are directly positively correlated to your success with this practice. It's quite amazing finding. We don't know. I personally have no idea why it's so. I'm going to discuss it in this paper, but it was really, really unexpected. And for this moment, it's, I thought that I knew that why people experience abruptions in their practice. For example, it works, but then it doesn't work. And I thought it was because of these features. I thought if you experience more sensations, more consciousness, maybe your brain thinks it's not natural, and that is why it blocks you from experience another phase. But it appears that I was totally wrong with this. That is why we need all these studies, because they let us see real situation. Because you may have as many hypotheses as you want, but it could mean nothing. So we are going to discuss this topic in the future. And there's another thing. Maybe in a few weeks, I'm going to publish this data. It does not contain any personal data, just information from almost 1,500 practitioners. I will publish it online, and everybody who can read statistics, analyze it, will be able to use it. Maybe somebody will be able to create academic papers using this stuff. So wait for this. actually, there could be a lot of very interesting informations, correlations, and I will be glad if somebody will use this data too. And now let's see this data, because I'm going to use this statistic program that I used to use. It's JASP. It's called JASP. It's been used by psychologists who make studies, because, for example, physicists or other scientists who analyze much more data, they use different programs. But for psychologists, for topics like this, JASP is a perfect one, because it's very easy to use. If you understand, of course, some basic information about statistical analysis. And let's look at this, and let's look at some correlations. For example, before we check it, could you put the month of your birth at the comment section? In the comment section. For example, I was born in July. What's your month? Because in a few minutes we are going to check what does it mean. Dom asks about how to stay in Astro longer. Actually, if you watch this from the beginning, a little bit later, you will get some information about this, because we were talking about this a few minutes before. Okay, September, April, September, June. August, March. Johnny, thank you for my English. About my English, actually, it is much more better, but it's about reading, writing, and listening. I don't speak, and that's the reason why sometimes it's very hard for me to speak in English. But actually, almost half of my work in English, but it's reading and writing. So I just don't have neural abilities to speak in English, but I'm going to improve it a lot during this year. October, February, May, June. Okay, let's check it. I'm opening the program, JASP. First of all, just a second. Let's check how months correlates with the practice. Just a second. So look at these figures. 100 line, this line, it is for people who have experienced not more than 100 phases during the lifespan. So it's 1,000 people, almost 1,100 people. And 101, it's for people who have experienced more than 100 phases in life. So let's see, for example, for April, more experienced people, 21%, August, 14%, December, 19%, February, 21%, January, 21%, July, 23%, June, 20%, May, 17%, March, 17%, November, 22%, October, 20%, September, 20%. So we see that the worst month to be born for phase practice, it's August, because not too many experienced practitioners were born in this month. But the best one here is July. It's 23%. Actually, I was born in July too, but there are a very huge reason to not look at this table at all. Why? Look at this thing. It's a Pearson coefficient. It is 0.9. To get some sense, it should be at least 0.05. Only in this case, this table can contain some actual correlations. For example, why do we see this? But this, for example, for August and July, but we should not count this. Look, if we could get not 1,361 practitioners, but 13,000, the same percentage would mean something, because the more data you get, the less statistical errors could be. That's the reason for so high P level. Because just not enough of data for this correlation. It could be to see a real correlation. There could be we needed more practitioners, more survey participants, or less factors. Because for almost 1,400 practitioners, it is 11 factors. It is too much. We need much less for p-value. So now we see that there could be some correlations, but it's not statistically significant. But we can check another thing. For example, not phase amount, but just a second. Phase percentage, phase attempt percentage. For example, 50 line. The 50 line, it's about for people whose attempts in 50% or less effective. So they try, for example, 10 times, only 3 of them, they're successful. 100 line is for people who are successful in more than 50% of their attempts. So 2 lines, one for those who are successful until 50% of attempts, and 100 line for those who are successful in more than 50% of their attempts. So let's check how it correlates with months. And April 16, August 16, December 23, February 17, July 29, June 33. So the average is 22. And we see that the worst months for efficient attempts, it's August, and the best June. And the difference is quite substantial. Look, it's 34 for June, I'm sorry, and 16 for August. So it's 100% more. And look at this, p-value shows less than 0.05. So it is statistically significant. So the difference is quite big. That is why we see that maybe there could be some difference. Actually, it is very strange. I don't believe in it, but we see real data. Maybe if you were born in August, maybe it is not a good news for you, but who knows? But people who were born in June or July, they they're usually much more successful with their practice. Look, once again, April 16, December 23, good. Then it's around 20, 25 for October, September only 18, but it's 34 for June. It's interesting. Let's check something different. For example, let's check stability. The line number 3, it's about high stability of practice. So it's for people whose practice are very stable. So it means they're mostly successful in their practice and it is stable. The one line, it is for people with low stability results. So they don't have a lot of results most of the time. 2, it's for average, and 3 for very successful people. P-value are too big. We should not consider. It means we should not consider this table for any scientific data. So, for example, if you publish this data with this p-value, no scientific journal will publish anything from this table because the p-value is too big. It's 10 times big to contain any significance. But we may check it just for casual interest. So who are the most successful if we check this level? Once again, June 14%, August 5%, January 4%. So if we consider this option, the worst month to be born is January. And the best one, it's again about June. Maybe there is some correlation, but I don't know what to say about this because once again, I put this month's issue just for entertainment. I didn't try to gather any data. Data you can see here. For example, this is the data. So one line, it is for one man, one person, and we have 1,400 of them. Let's check something other that could be interesting for you. For example, we may check, let's skip months, how the phase ending relates to efficiency of the practice. For example, people with high consciousness, it's apparent. These results are very apparent. So, for example, if you have very high consciousness in the phase, you fall asleep much less. And we look at the p-value, it is very low. It means that we see some significant correlation in this table. Especially, it is obvious when we look at low consciousness. It is obvious that people with low consciousness in phase fall asleep much more regularly because you cannot maintain phase, you fall asleep. So this correlation is obvious. There's nothing unusual. But let's check something, for example, how vividness relates to phase ending. Once again, p-value is very low, it means we can find some correlations here. Actually, it's not very so simple. Actually, there should be corrections to check this p-value, but we don't want to you don't want to know this, believe me. It's just an easy approach to this data. So phase vividness and ending. People with high vividness, it's about hypersensations, mostly wake up from the experience. So it's once again, it's apparent that people with low perception, they fall asleep much more often. So that's how we check, and I'm going to publish. This is how we check all the data, and I'm going to publish this data in a few weeks. And once again, if you write some articles, if you need to write some articles, scholar articles, maybe in your university or for some research work, you will be able to use this data because there are actually a lot of correlations, and you may create some interesting papers or even find some discoveries using this data. So just be in touch with our project. Before I talk about the next issue, one more thing. Thank you a lot for everything who support our project, because it would be really impossible. Actually, could be possible to exist, but it would destroy my life if I would be without your help. So every donators who help me to maintain this project, thank you a lot. You really help. And by this moment, I still finance it by myself, but without your help, it would be a total disaster. So guys, thank you for supporting me. And a little bit later, I will check your questions. All the supporters can ask them on the Project Elijah website, and I will check them a little bit later. I will check all the other questions too. So now let's talk about a very interesting topic. As you know, actual people who watch my webinars during the last 12 months, they are aware that I've been working on a new method to enter the phase state. So we have direct method when you fall asleep using some tricks and get REM sleep and the phase state, or you wake up during natural REM sleep upon awakenings and you get phases, or you become conscious while dreaming. It's another way to experience phase. Or we may use some apparatus, some gadgets like special dreaming masks to experience phase state. But I'm going to create something new, and I've been working a lot on it. Before this, I have to share the primary thing. By this moment, it does not exist, but I've been working so hard on this topic for at least 10 months, and I do this because I see some actual ways for this. First 2 months, I try to do this only by my personal abilities, by my mind, by my conscious. And in a few months, it appears it is impossible. Because if you want to go farther than your physiological limitations, you cannot control it by your thoughts. But this new method, it's about going much farther than usual sleep patterns. That's why it is so complicated. Then I used some PC programs that could help me to overcome these neurophysiological limits. Actually, it worked, but it was extremely hard in use because, believe me or not, I had to spend much more time and efforts just to control these programs than for actual practice. So it was extremely hard, and it didn't work for this new method. And during these months, I found a programmer, a person who created me a mobile app. Actually, just maybe 2 hours ago, I saw it for the first time. We were calibrating this program previous days, but just 2 hours ago, I received it. For example, 3 hours ago, I led the same stream in Russian language, and I didn't have this application during this moment. But then, just 1 or 2 hours ago, I received this, and maybe we will work on it still. And maybe in a few days, it will be completely ready for new steps in this research, because now it is way more easier for me. It is so much easier, and moreover, it has much more options to work with these physiological limitations. And it wasn't very easy to find a person who could create this, because firstly, I tried to search for people who create mobile apps. And I asked them, guys, let's do this. I pay for this. It appeared that nobody could do this, because actually it's simple from the first glance. But when you think about it, you understand you should create something that could be something. It's not as easy as it seems, and it was very hard to find a person who could do this. And only one person from Tyumen, Russia, decided to do this, and it is almost ready. Its functionality has been tested. It works. So now he just makes it more useful for application, and I'm going to test it during the next weeks, maybe months. So it is the most important news here, because maybe it will change something. Why do I do this? Why do we need this new method? 20 years ago, when I started this journey, my practice, and then when I created an algorithm for indirect method, I was really amazed by its efficiency, because before this, people would be satisfied just by one experience per week or per month. It was cool. But by using indirect method, it was possible to do it sometimes a few times per each night. Even 100 years ago, if you download the Steven Mulden's book, Astral Body Projection, something like this, he created this book just after 30 experiences. And it was amazing for those times. But now I understand that to move this topic further, to research it better, to practice it better, to use it better, even these indirect methods is not enough now. We need something even more successful, much more controllable. That is why I've been working on these new methods so hard. And to create this, we have to use a completely different approach, because all these methods, usual methods, they won't work. And we need something completely new. I try to find something like this in English web, Russian websites, forums, practitioners. I haven't seen even mentioning about this idea. So it is really something new. And if it works, it will change a lot. So this month, I'm going to test this application. Maybe it will do this work. And you know what? Even if it doesn't work for my goal, this application will definitely help to help a lot of practitioners, because it has some unique features that will be useful for our practice anyways. It will be free. It will be inbuilt in our the face application. It is free available, so it will be there. I will give all the instructions in any ways. If it works, if it doesn't work for my goals, if it will be there will be all instructions to use it. So it is the main news for me, and I'm very excited about this. I'm going to check it, try it, and maybe we will get something. But once again, it makes my practical journey in this direction maybe 10 times more easier, because now I have an instruments to overcome some physiological limitations, and plus it is very convenient. It is very easy to use, and at least 10 times more useful, more easier than my previous approach to this topic. So I'm glad that we live this century, and we are able to use new technologies, and actually we have to use them. We must use them, because they may really improve many parts of our life. So wait for this. So guys, now I'm going to check your questions. All the supporters of Project Elijah, I'm going to check your questions first. Just a second. I won't read your surnames, just your questions. So a few questions from Elena. Just a second, there are a few of them, so I'm going to check how to do it, how to answer to all of them. A lot of text, just a second. So let's read just questions. The first one: do you have experience with chronically tired practitioners? Is there anything you could remember to keep on the fine line between not being too sleepy to forget about the face practice and being too alert to continue sleeping altogether? So it refers to actual attempts, so I have to check them too. So the main problem, Elena's problem, it's hard for her to be fully aware during 2 or 3 natural awakenings in the morning. Elena, Elena, first of all, you should understand that this problem, it's not a problem, it's quite normal situation, that during some attempts, you cannot maintain full consciousness and control of your attempts. It's normal. So the first thing you should understand, it's okay. You should not think that, for example, if I wake up, I'm able to control everything in 100% of all cases. No, it doesn't work this way. Sometimes I'm very sleepy, I just don't remember anything. It's okay, it's normal. So it's the first thing. The second thing, anyways, sometimes you wake up and you possess some consciousness. You make attempts. Just a second, I'm going to read it. And you're successful. For example, Elena successful usually once or twice per month. Once again, Sylvan Malden wrote his book after just 30 experiences. And 100 years ago, a century ago, it was a huge step for humanity. People were very amazed to read this. Now we, even the newbies, for example, Yelena consider herself as a newbie, but she can experience much more phases than Mulden, but she is not satisfied. It's good. It's a sign that we are very far away from the past, and indeed, once or twice per month, it's not enough. So even if Yelena get up for 15 minutes and then she just cannot. Just a second. If I go back to bed with intention of performing techniques when waking up, chances that I will just continue sleeping after a brief awakening. Just one example. During the last 2 or 3 months, I did not have chances to use the deferred method. It is when you wake up, you get up for a few minutes in the morning, then you fall asleep again and catch next awakenings. I just had to get up earlier, much earlier this month, and perform much more work than usually. And at the beginning, I lost maybe 80-90% of my phases. But then, because I used to do it in the morning, mostly. And then I decided to try it when I delay my alarm clock. For example, it wakes you up, you put a button to delay it for 10 more minutes. And I started to practice during this moment. And it appeared that maybe it's not as efficient as natural awakenings, but it's something between indirect and direct method. So it's approximately 50% efficiency. So maybe even more. So I'm talking not about when you do, but what you do. Yelena, maybe it's the key reason. It's not about your consciousness. Maybe it's just about what you do at this moment. For example, if you wake up and you're too sleepy, just try to be more active, more aggressive. If you wake up and you're fully conscious, just try to be a little bit more sleepy. So I don't consider this problem as a very huge one. I'm almost sure that you try to find some explanations in a wrong way. Just think of what you do. Then how can I train my memory for remembering phase task? At one point in the video seminar, you say that a good practitioner always knows what she wants to do when in the phase. You just recite your to-do list to yourself over and over throughout the day. First of all, when I say that every experienced practitioner remembers his actions, just just an approximation. Sometimes I don't remember my goals, but most of the times I don't remember them. And for me, for example, it goes for good motivation. For example, if I want to do something, it's very improbable that I will forget about this because I wait a phase just to experience, just to accomplish this task. So think about more interesting tasks. The second thing, what to do to recall your tasks in the phase. It must be very interesting. Sometimes, if it's a problem for you, you indeed should try time to time recall this list to yourself during everyday routine. For example, sometimes maybe using some marks. For example, you may use this hands technique. Usually people use it for understanding where you're dreaming or not. But in this case, you may try to recall your tasks every time you see your hands. For example, you may try to recall your tasks every time you go through doors, for example. So you may create a trigger for recalling your tasks, and then you will be much more successful with them in your phases. Another question: how can I pour more experience into the phase glass? How can I be more present there and more aware besides inspecting my surroundings, touching everything, etc.? Do you mean the transition from reality, from wakefulness to phase? If it's so, it's only about concentration. So concentration on your actions. For a moment or two, you should skip your analyze, your thinking, and you should try to merge yourself in the sensation, in your sensations, in your actions. That's the only way to pour yourself into the phase. One more question: how can I travel more successfully, especially to places that I do not know yet, but where I expected to find something interesting, meet people, to get answers from etc. Elena, first of all, you won't be able to travel more successfully without more regular practice, because traveling, translocation in the phase state requires regular practice. So, for example, if you don't experience it at least once per week, you lose your abilities to use the phase in your goals. That is why it's very important to be a very stable practitioner who goes in the phase regularly. But so you just need more experience with it. But one more thing, Elena, I think that all your questions actually are results just from one single problem. It is very apparent for me that you possess too much thinking, too much analyzing, and I bet you do the same during your attempts, during your experiences, etc. We transit from reality into the phase by our physiology, neurophysiology, but not by our mind. Our mind can control this transition, but actually it happens by your physiology, and our consciousness may influence our neurophysiology. For example, we are conscious during wakefulness. It means that consciousness is a product of wakefulness. And if this product of wakefulness is too active during attempts, it may ruin these attempts because it may block some neurophysiological processes in your brain. So just relax, don't think too much. Maybe that's the problem. Make it more easier. Just try it the more appropriate time. Don't try to make it more complicated. I think it is the primary reason here for your problems. Just a second, I'll check other questions. If no, I'll check questions from your comments. Okay, so guys, now I'm going to read your questions on YouTube or Facebook. I see all of them. I think most of them. I'll try to read them. Just a second. I'm sorry, I won't be able to check all the questions, but I'll do my best to read at least a few of them. Twins ask for clarity. We use deepening techniques for this. First of all, if you don't know me, if you watch this stream occasionally, Google the face guidebook, or just go on my website and download this guidebook. There's everything related to deepening, entering the phase state, and so on. And Carson suggests rub your hands together. Actually, we are going to check this technique at Project Elijah too, and moreover, we've been receiving reports for this technique already. And maybe next year we'll get enough of data to talk about this rubbing hand techniques for deepening, how it makes more clarity, more vividness in face. But Vince says it doesn't work for him. If you read the guidebook, it's first of all, it's free. Everybody can download it. You will find a lot of ways to achieve more stable, more deep, more vivid sensations. There are a lot of techniques. For example, the best one is this scrutinizing thing. It is palpating everything. It should be performed very actively. And don't forget about the beginning of the stream. I was talking about our new study about exercising technique for deepening. So you wake up, you wake up in the phase state, separate or become conscious while dreaming, and start to perform warm-up techniques as of before some exercises. So you push-ups and so on very quickly, and it activates your sensations in your mind in the face. I'll check your questions. Carson says he was able to enter the phase state 7 times in one night using the indirect techniques. Carson, it's very good result. It's not the biggest one, but many people will pay a lot for this amount. You were able to do it 7 times in one night. Of all, Sylvan Mulden wrote a book after 30 experiences. It's quite good. Scott says he usually use the direct method. It's not very bad too, because direct method is much more complicated. So for me, one direct entry into the phase costs maybe 2 or 3 indirect entries, considering how difficult it is, maybe even more. Marfei asks, is mainnet possible? It will happen in a few years, maybe. Mainnet, it's about connecting our phases by internet. It's just a matter of a few years. Daniela asks, are people on the astral plane dead, or they are other projections? It all depends on your point of view. For example, if you're a pragmatic person, it's just some objects from your brain. It creates it. If you believe in something more than science, it could be real souls of these people, and so on. For me, I'm a quite pragmatic person, so you may guess what I think about this, but it depends on your personal point of view. I'm trying to find some questions. Romain, I'm glad you're here. I hope to be in Paris in a few months and see you in person finally. Scott asks, does anyone know if it would be possible to lucid dream into Pandora Avatar world from James Cameron movies? And if so, is it complicated? First of all, it is 100% possible. And I don't think it is more complicated than most of other tasks. You just try. Personally, I didn't try this, but I think there's nothing difficult. But before this, I would check some images from this movie, maybe some clips, just to refresh my neurons, and then I think it is possible. Nothing supernatural in it. So guys, I'm sorry, maybe I cannot check all the questions, but only a few of them, but all the major thoughts I have shared with you, and maybe they will be useful for you. So I enjoyed this stream, and I hope to see you again. Before I finish, don't forget that you can drastically improve your practice by our instructions. Just download my practical guidebook, and if you are able to experience at least one phase, lucid dream, out-of-body experience, astral projection, one time per month, please participate in our Project Elijah. It will help you to get strict tasks for every your attempt, and it will motivate you more, because our tasks are quite interesting, and we will use your reports for different kind of studies. So please participate in our research. And don't forget that you're able to support our project. It's very hard to finance it because all my seminars were shifted or canceled. I used those money to finance my projects, and now it's a quite difficult time. But it's for I bet it's for many of you. So, but if you can help, please consider this idea. So, guys, I hope that in 1 month I will be able to share more interesting, more useful things with you. Just be with us, just practice the phase states. It's one of the most amazing and interesting thing you can experience in your life. So, Delphine, Scott, Romain, Johnny, Vincent, thank you for being with me. Thank you to everyone else. Thank you for watching this stream, and see you in 1 month. So see you in the face, guys.